The warm Georgia sun peeked through the windows of Atlanta Memorial Hospital as Lisa Thompson walked through the busy hallway of the rehabilitation ward. At 32 years old, she had been working as a nurse for 8 years, but today would be different from any other day in her life. Lisa's colleagues often told her she was one of the most caring nurses in the hospital. Her gentle touch and bright smile helped many patients feel better during their hardest times. With her dark skin glowing and her braided hair neatly tied back, she carried herself with quiet confidence as she checked her patient list for the day. "We have a new patient in room 405, Sarah," the head nurse told Lisa while handing her a file. "He's been transferred from the trauma unit. Car accident victim, been here for 2 weeks now." Lisa nodded and took the file, reading the name. Marcus Carter, 35 years old, software engineer. As she walked to room 405, she reviewed his medical history. The car accident had left him unable to use his legs, and he was here for intensive physical therapy. When Lisa entered the room, she found a handsome man sitting up in his bed, typing away on a laptop. Despite being in a hospital gown, Marcus looked professional with his neatly trimmed beard and intelligent eyes behind his glasses. He looked up when she entered, and his warm smile made her pause for a moment. "Good morning, Mr. Carter. I'm Lisa Thompson, and I'll be your nurse during your stay here," she said, trying to keep her voice professional despite feeling an unexpected flutter in her stomach. "Please call me Marcus," he replied with a grin that lit up his whole face, "and thank you. I've been told I'll be seeing a lot of you during my rehabilitation." As Lisa checked his vital signs and reviewed his medication, they talked easily about small things. She learned that Marcus worked for a big tech company and could still do most of his work from the hospital. He made her laugh with funny stories about his coding adventures, and she found herself spending more time in his room than she usually did with patients. "You know," Marcus said while she helped him prepare for his first physical therapy session, "most people treat me differently now, like I'm made of glass or something. But you just treat me like a person." Lisa adjusted his pillows and smiled. "Because that's exactly what you are, Marcus. A person who's going through a tough time but still keeping his spirit up. That's pretty amazing if you ask me." Over the next few hours, Lisa helped Marcus with his exercises. She watched as he struggled with the simplest movements. What impressed her most was his determination. Even when pain showed on his face, he didn't complain. Instead, he would crack jokes about being the world's clumsiest programmer. "You must think I'm pretty pathetic," he said during one particularly difficult exercise. Lisa shook her head firmly. "Actually, I think you're one of the strongest people I've met. It's not about what you can't do right now, Marcus. It's about how you're fighting to get better." Before she left for the day, Lisa found herself making excuses to check on Marcus one last time. As she entered his room, she found him looking out the window at the setting sun. "Tomorrow's another day of trying to teach these legs who's boss," he said with a small smile when he saw her. "And I'll be here to help," Lisa replied, surprised by how much she meant those words. That night, as Lisa drove home, she couldn't stop thinking about Marcus. There was something special about him, not just his handsome face or his sense of humor, but the strength she saw in his eyes. For the first time in her nursing career, Lisa found herself looking forward to seeing a patient again. What she didn't know then was that this was just the beginning. That ordinary Tuesday would turn out to be the day she met the man who would change her life forever. As she fell asleep that night, Lisa had no idea that fate had just dealt her a card that would lead to the most beautiful and unexpected love story of her life. 3 weeks had passed since Lisa first met Marcus in room 405. The spring weather in Atlanta was getting warmer, and so was their connection. Lisa found herself spending her lunch breaks in Marcus's room, sharing stories and laughing together over hospital cafeteria sandwiches. "You really don't have to waste your breaks with me," Marcus said one afternoon, watching as Lisa arranged fresh flowers by his window. They were from his tech team at work, who had been supportive throughout his recovery. "Trust me, this is the best part of my day," Lisa replied honestly, then quickly added, "I mean, it's nice to have someone to talk to." She hoped he hadn't noticed her cheeks getting warm. But it wasn't always easy. During physical therapy sessions, Lisa saw how much pain Marcus was in, even though he tried to hide it behind his jokes. One particularly tough day, he couldn't complete his exercises, and his frustration showed. "I can't do this anymore," Marcus shouted, tears in his eyes. "What's the point? I'm stuck in this chair forever. He slammed his fist against the wheelchair's armrest. Lisa knelt beside him, her heart aching at his pain. Marcus, look at me, she said firmly. 3 weeks ago, you couldn't even sit up without help. Now you're moving around in your wheelchair like you were born to race it. Progress takes time. Her words seemed to calm him down. How do you always know the right thing to say? He asked, wiping his eyes. Because I see you, Marcus. Not just your disability, but all of you. Word spread quickly through the hospital about the growing friendship between the nurse and her patient. Some of Lisa's coworkers warned her about getting too close. Sarah, the head nurse, called her into the office one day. Lisa, honey, I know you care about him, Sarah said gently. But you need to be careful. Getting emotionally involved with patients is complicated. It's not like that, Lisa protested, even as she knew her feelings for Marcus were growing stronger each day. We're just friends. But things were changing. Lisa noticed how her heart would beat faster whenever she entered his room. She found herself fixing her hair before seeing him and wearing her special cherry-scented lotion that he once said he liked. Marcus was changing too. He started putting more effort into his therapy sessions, determined to show Lisa his progress. His software company had been understanding, allowing him to work remotely from the hospital. Often, Lisa would find him typing away on his laptop, his face lit up by the screen's glow. I'm designing a new app, he told her one evening. It's going to help people with disabilities navigate public spaces better. Want to hear about it? Lisa pulled up a chair, fascinated as he explained his ideas. His passion for helping others despite his own struggles made her admire him even more. One day, Lisa's friend Teresa from the pediatric ward visited Marcus's room during lunch. Later, she pulled Lisa aside with concern in her eyes. Girl, are you sure about this? Teresa asked. Dating someone in a wheelchair, that's a big responsibility. And you know some people might talk about you two being together. Lisa felt anger rise in her chest. Some people will always talk, Teresa, but they don't know him like I do. He's the most amazing man I've ever met. That evening, as Lisa was finishing her shift, Marcus asked her to stay for a moment. The sunset was painting the sky orange through his window, making the moment feel special. Lisa, he said softly, I know I'm not the easiest person to be around right now, but these past weeks, you've made me feel like a whole person again, not just a patient. Would you? Would you like to have dinner with me? Once I get out of here, I mean. Lisa's heart skipped a beat. She knew this could complicate everything, her job, her life, what others might think. But looking at Marcus, seeing the hope and nervousness in his eyes, she knew her answer. Yes, she said, her smile brightening the room. I'd love to have dinner with you. As she left the hospital that night, Lisa felt like she was floating. She knew people might not understand, but she didn't care. Sometimes the best things in life come in unexpected packages, and Lisa Thompson was ready to unwrap this gift that fate had given her, one day at a time. 2 months after Marcus left the hospital, Lisa sat nervously at a table in Giovanni's, one of Atlanta's finest Italian restaurants. It was their first fancy date, and she had spent hours getting ready. Her red dress sparkled under the restaurant's soft lighting, and her freshly done braids were decorated with tiny golden beads. Marcus wheeled himself confidently through the restaurant, looking handsome in a dark blue suit. He had gotten better at maneuvering his wheelchair, and Lisa felt proud seeing how far he'd come. The other diners stared at them, an interracial couple, one in a wheelchair, but neither Lisa nor Marcus paid them any attention. You look beautiful, Marcus said, his eyes shining as he reached across the table to hold her hand. I still can't believe you agreed to date someone like me. Someone like you? Lisa raised an eyebrow. You mean someone brilliant, funny, and handsome? Their conversation flowed easily over pasta and wine. Marcus told her about his new project at work. His app for disabled people was getting attention from major investors. Lisa shared funny stories about her patients, making him laugh until tears came to his eyes. But life wasn't always as smooth as their dinner dates. One Sunday, they went to Lisa's church, where she sang in the tour. As they entered, Lisa heard whispers from some congregation members. Poor Lisa, taking care of a disabled man. Is she doing this out of pity? They look so different together. Marcus noticed Lisa's discomfort and squeezed her hand. We can leave if you want, he whispered. No, Lisa said firmly. I'm proud to be with you. Let them talk. After church, Lisa's mother, Eleanor, invited them for Sunday dinner. It was time for Marcus to meet the family properly. Lisa felt nervous. Her mother could be quite direct. At dinner, Eleanor watched with sharp eyes as Marcus managed his plate independently, using special utensils he brought. Finally, she spoke up. Marcus, I need to ask you something straight, Eleanor said. What are your intentions with my daughter? Mama, Lisa exclaimed, embarrassed. But Marcus stayed calm. Mrs. Thompson, I love your daughter. She saw me at my worst and chose to stay. I might be in this wheelchair, but I promise you, I'll spend every day making sure she's happy. Eleanor studied him for a long moment, then smiled. Well, anyone who can handle my direct questions deserves a chance. Welcome to the family, son. Later that week, Marcus invited Lisa to meet his family. His parents lived in a beautiful house in the suburbs. Lisa noticed right away that they had already modified their home with ramps and wider doorways for Marcus's wheelchair. Lisa, Marcus's mother, Patricia, hugged her warmly. We've heard so much about the amazing nurse who stole our son's heart. During dinner, Marcus's father, Richard, shared embarrassing stories from Marcus's childhood, making everyone laugh. Lisa noticed how they treated Marcus's disability, not ignoring it, but not making it the center of everything either. One evening, as they sat in Marcus's apartment watching movies, Lisa noticed something was bothering him. What's wrong? She asked, pausing the film. Marcus sighed. Sometimes I worry that I'm holding you back. You could be with anyone, someone who could dance with you, run with you, give you a normal life. Lisa turned to face him, her eyes serious. Marcus Carter, listen to me carefully. You've given me more joy in these past few months than I've had in years. I don't need someone to dance with me or run with me. I need someone who understands me, respects me, and loves me. That's you. Tears formed in Marcus's eyes as he pulled her close for a kiss. When they separated, he had a mischievous smile. You know, he said, I've been keeping a secret from you. My doctors think I might be a good candidate for this new experimental treatment. It might help me regain some movement in my legs. Lisa's eyes widened with hope, but she quickly said, Even if it doesn't work, it doesn't change how I feel about you. I know, Marcus replied, pulling her close again. That's exactly why I love you. As they cuddled on the couch, resuming their movie, Lisa felt completely at peace. Love didn't care about wheelchairs or skin color or what other people thought. It only cared about two hearts beating in perfect harmony, and Lisa knew she had found exactly where she belonged. 6 months into their relationship, Marcus grew more secretive. He started missing their regular dinner dates, claiming he had late work meetings. Lisa tried not to worry, but doubt crept into her mind. Was he having second thoughts about them? One Thursday evening, Lisa sat alone in her apartment, scrolling through photos of happier times on her phone. Her best friend Angela called, insisting they go shopping on Saturday. Girl, you need to get out, Angela said. I know the perfect mall for retail therapy. What Lisa didn't know was that Marcus had spent weeks planning the biggest surprise of her life. Every late meeting was actually a secret physical therapy session for his experimental treatment. He also had another surprise in the works. Saturday morning arrived bright and sunny. Angela picked Lisa up early, but instead of heading to the mall, she drove toward Atlantic Station, Atlanta's popular outdoor shopping center. I thought we were going to the mall, Lisa asked, confused. Angela smiled mysteriously. Trust me, this is better. As they walked through Atlantic Station, Lisa noticed something strange. Street musicians were playing her favorite song, At Last by Etta James. Then she saw familiar faces in the crowd, her parents, her church friends, Marcus's family, and even some of her colleagues from the hospital. What's going on? Lisa asked, her heart beating faster. Before Angela could answer, the crowd parted. There, in the center of the plaza, was Marcus. But something was different. Very different. Marcus was standing. Using 2 walking supports and wearing high-tech leg braces partly hidden under his pants, Marcus stood tall, a huge smile on his face. Lisa's hands flew to her mouth, tears already forming in her eyes. The experimental treatment, she whispered, understanding now why he'd been so busy. With careful, determined steps, Marcus walked toward her. Each step was slow but steady. The crowd held their breath, many recording this moment on their phones. Lisa couldn't move, frozen in amazement. When Marcus reached her, he carefully lowered himself onto one knee, causing gasps from the watching crowd. One of his friends quickly moved forward to help stabilize him, then stepped back. Lisa Thompson, Marcus began, his voice strong and clear despite the effort of staying balanced. When I was at my lowest point, lying in that hospital bed, you saw past my wheelchair. You saw me for who I am. You loved me when I couldn't even love myself. Lisa was crying freely now, and Marcus's eyes were wet too. I've been working for months with these new experimental braces and therapy, wanting to stand eye to eye with you for this moment. He continued, pulling out a small velvet box from his jacket pocket. I promise to spend the rest of my life trying to be the man you deserve. Whether I'm standing, walking, or in my chair, my heart will always stand tall for you. He opened the box, revealing a beautiful diamond ring that sparkled in the sunlight. Will you marry me? The crowd held their breath. Lisa's mother was sobbing into her handkerchief. Marcus's parents held each other tight, watching their son's brave moment. Through her tears, Lisa managed to speak. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. The crowd erupted in cheers as Marcus, with help from his friend, carefully stood up. Lisa rushed forward to support him, and they shared their first kiss as an engaged couple while standing together. I can't believe you learned to stand just for this, Lisa said, admiring her ring while helping Marcus back to his wheelchair. The effort of standing had tired him, but his smile never faded. I wanted to give you a proposal you'd never forget, he replied. Though I might have shown off a bit, I was planning to save the standing surprise for our wedding day. Later, both families gathered at Marcus's parents' house for a celebration. Lisa couldn't stop smiling as she watched Marcus chat with her father about their wedding plans. Her mother pulled her aside, eyes glistening. Baby girl, Eleanor said, hugging her daughter tight. That man loves you something fierce. I've never been more wrong about my first impressions. As the evening wound down, Lisa and Marcus found a quiet moment alone in the garden. The stars twinkled above them as she sat on his lap in his wheelchair, her head resting on his shoulder. You know, Lisa said softly, you didn't need to stand to make this day perfect. You already had my heart. Marcus kissed her forehead. I know, but now you've seen what I'm capable of when I have the right motivation. And you, Lisa Thompson, soon to be Lisa Carter, are the best motivation a man could ask for. 3 months before their wedding day, Lisa and Marcus's life became a whirlwind of preparations. Their small wedding planning committee, led by both their mothers, had taken over Marcus's spacious apartment, turning his living room into wedding central. The church is booked for May 15th, Eleanor announced one evening, surrounded by color swatches and flower catalogs. Now we need to figure out how to make everything accessible for Marcus. Marcus, who had been making steady progress with his experimental treatment, smiled at his future mother-in-law's concern. Don't worry too much about me. I've got a surprise planned for the ceremony. Lisa looked up from her wedding dress magazine. Marcus Carter, what are you plotting now? He just winked at her, then wheeled himself to his therapy room, a space he'd set up for his daily exercises. Through the partially open door, Lisa watched him practicing with his leg braces, determination written across his face. Her heart swelled with pride. Planning their wedding brought new challenges every day. The venue needed ramps installed, the dance floor had to be modified, and they spent hours figuring out how to make their first dance special. But what worried Lisa most was how some people reacted to their engagement. One afternoon, while shopping for bridesmaid dresses with her cousins, Lisa overheard 2 women whispering. She's really going through with it, one said. Marrying a man in a wheelchair. And he's white? The other woman finished. Well, love must be blind and crazy. Lisa's cousin Tamika spun around, ready to confront them, but Lisa grabbed her arm. They're not worth it, she said firmly. Their small minds can't understand our big love. Marcus faced his own challenges at work. During a video conference, one of his colleagues made a thoughtless comment. Man, how are you going to carry her across the threshold? Instead of getting angry, Marcus laughed. Who says I need to carry her? We're writing our own rules for this marriage. The wedding preparations brought sweet moments too. During their dance lessons, their instructor, Miss Ruby, helped them create a beautiful wheelchair dance routine. Marcus would spin Lisa while moving his chair in elegant patterns, creating a unique and touching choreography. "You two are making me believe in love again," Miss Ruby said, wiping tears after they perfected their routine. One Saturday, while trying on her wedding dress at the boutique, Lisa's mother noticed her daughter looked worried. "What's wrong, baby?" Eleanor asked, adjusting the dress's train. "Mama, sometimes I worry about the future," Lisa admitted. "What if Marcus's treatment stops working? What if things get harder?" Eleanor turned her daughter to face the mirror. "Look at yourself, Lisa. You're strong, just like your grandmother was. She taught me that love isn't about easy times. It's about choosing each other every day, especially during the hard times." Meanwhile, Marcus was having a heart-to-heart with his father while picking up his wedding suit. "Son," Richard said, helping Marcus try on his jacket, "I've never been prouder of you. The way you've handled everything, the accident, rehabilitation, and now building a life with Lisa, you're an inspiration." "I just hope I can be the husband she deserves," Marcus replied, straightening his tie. "You already are," his father assured him. As the wedding day grew closer, Lisa and Marcus focused on personalizing their ceremony. They wrote their own vows, chose music that reflected their journey, and planned special touches to honor both their families' traditions. One evening, after a long day of preparations, they sat in their favorite spot in Marcus's apartment, the balcony overlooking the city lights. Lisa sat in Marcus's lap, playing with his hands. "3 more weeks," she said softly. "Are you nervous?" Marcus kissed her cheek. "Owe me about keeping my surprise a secret. You're going to love it." "As long as you don't try to break dance down the aisle," Lisa teased. "No promises," he laughed. "But seriously, Lisa, thank you for going on this journey with me. Not many women would handle all this with such grace." Lisa turned to face him. "Not many men would work as hard as you have to make our wedding day special. You know you don't have to prove anything, right?" Marcus smiled mysteriously. "I know, but what I'm planning isn't about proving anything. It's about making a dream come true, for both of us." As they sat there, wrapped in each other's arms, they knew their wedding would be more than just a ceremony. It would be a celebration of love that broke boundaries, challenged expectations, and proved that true love knows no limitations. The morning of May 15th arrived with perfect weather. Sunshine streamed through the windows of the bridal suite at Glory Baptist Church, where Lisa sat in front of a large mirror, surrounded by her bridesmaids. Her wedding dress, a beautiful ivory gown with delicate lace details, fit her perfectly. "Girl, you look like a queen," Angela said, carefully adjusting Lisa's veil. The other bridesmaids, dressed in royal purple gowns, nodded in agreement. In another room, Marcus was getting ready with his groomsmen. His hands trembled slightly as he looked at the special leg braces hidden under his pants, the ones he'd been secretly practicing with for months. "You sure about this?" his best man, David, asked quietly. Marcus nodded. "I've been practicing for hours every day. Nothing's going to stop me from standing at that altar." Back in the bridal suite, Lisa's mother entered with tears already in her eyes. "Baby girl, there's something I want to give you." She handed Lisa a small box containing a beautiful pearl necklace. "Your grandmother wore this at her wedding. She would have been so proud today." As Eleanor fastened the necklace around her daughter's neck, she whispered, "Marcus's mother and I have been peeking into the church. It's packed full. Even some of your old patients from the hospital came." The church indeed was filled with over 300 guests. The decorations were elegant. White and purple flowers lined the aisle, and soft tulle draped the pews. A special ramp had been installed at the altar, though only Marcus's closest family knew he might not need it. At exactly 2 p.m., the ceremony began. The bridesmaids walked down the aisle, followed by the flower girls sprinkling purple rose petals. Marcus wheeled himself to the altar, looking handsome in his black tuxedo. His eyes were fixed on the church doors, waiting for his bride. The organ began playing "Here Comes the Bride," and the doors opened. Lisa appeared on her father's arm, and the entire church gasped. She was breathtaking. Her dress sparkled in the sunlight streaming through the stained glass windows, and her smile lit up the entire room. As Lisa walked down the aisle, she noticed something happening at the altar. Marcus was moving. With help from his best man, he carefully stood up from his wheelchair. A murmur of surprise rippled through the church. Using his special leg braces and holding onto a disguised support bar, Marcus stood tall, waiting for his bride. Lisa's eyes filled with tears. This was his surprise, standing to take their vows. Her father squeezed her hand as they reached the altar. "Who gives this woman to be married?" the pastor asked. "Her mother and I do," Lisa's father replied, his voice thick with emotion. The ceremony was beautiful. Marcus managed to stand throughout, though Lisa could see the effort it took. When it came time for their vows, there wasn't a dry eye in the church. "Lisa," Marcus began, his voice strong and clear, "from the day you walked into my hospital room, you've been my strength. You saw past my wheelchair and into my heart. I promise to love you every day of my life, to support your dreams, and to thank God each morning for bringing you to me." Lisa wiped away tears as she spoke her vows. "Marcus, you've shown me what true courage and love look like. You've made me laugh during the hard times and smile during the good times. I promise to be your partner in all things, to love you in whatever way life presents itself, and to always see the strength in your heart." When the pastor pronounced them husband and wife, Marcus surprised everyone again. Without help, he took one small step forward and pulled Lisa into their first kiss as a married couple. The church erupted in applause and cheers. At the reception, Marcus mostly used his wheelchair, saving his strength for one special moment, their first dance. With the help of his braces, he stood and held Lisa close as they swayed to "At Last," the same song that had played during his proposal. "I can't believe you stood through the whole ceremony," Lisa whispered as they danced. "I told you I had a surprise," he smiled. "But the real surprise is still to come at the hotel tonight." Lisa looked at him curiously, but Marcus just grinned. As they danced, surrounded by their loved ones, neither could imagine that the biggest surprise of all was still waiting for them at the end of their perfect day. The evening sky sparkled with stars as Marcus and Lisa arrived at the luxurious Ritz-Carlton Hotel in downtown Atlanta. Their wedding reception had been magical, filled with dancing, laughter, and joy. Now, exhausted but happy, they made their way to the honeymoon suite on the top floor. "I still can't believe you stood for the whole ceremony," Lisa said as they entered the elegant suite. The room was beautiful, with rose petals scattered across the bed and champagne chilling in an ice bucket. Marcus smiled mysteriously. "The day isn't over yet, Mrs. Carter. I have one more surprise for you." Lisa watched curiously as Marcus wheeled himself to the center of the room. The suite was spacious, with a stunning view of the Atlanta skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows. Soft music played in the background, their song, "At Last." "Remember when I told you about that experimental treatment?" Marcus began, his eyes twinkling. "Well, I haven't been completely honest about how much progress I've made." Lisa's heart began to race. "What do you mean?" Marcus took a deep breath. "The doctors didn't want me to rush things, but I've been practicing in secret. Those leg braces I used at the wedding, they're just the beginning." Slowly, Marcus reached for the supports he had secretly asked the hotel staff to install. Lisa watched in amazement as he carefully stood up from his wheelchair. This much she had seen before, but what happened next took her breath away. Without the wheelchair, without the leg braces he had worn at the wedding, Marcus took one step toward her, then another, and another. "Oh my God," Lisa whispered, tears filling her eyes. "Marcus, you're walking." "The treatment worked better than anyone expected," he explained, moving slowly but steadily toward her. "I've been practicing for hours every day at a special clinic while telling you I was at work meetings. The doctors say I might even be able to walk normally again with more therapy." Lisa couldn't speak. She covered her mouth with her hands, tears of joy streaming down her face. Her wedding dress rustled as she moved forward to meet him halfway. "I wanted to wait for the perfect moment to show you," Marcus continued, now standing right in front of her. "What better time than our wedding night? This is my gift to you, my beautiful wife." Unable to contain her emotions any longer, Lisa threw her arms around him. They stood there, holding each other, both crying tears of joy. Marcus was a bit unsteady, but he held his ground, savoring the feeling of embracing his wife while standing. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Lisa asked, looking up at him through tear-filled eyes. "Because I wanted to see that look on your face," he smiled, wiping away her tears. "That look right there, it made all those secret therapy sessions worth it." Marcus pulled her closer and began to sway gently to the music. Here, in their private moment, they shared their second first dance of the day, this time with no wheelchair, no braces, just two people in love. The doctors say I still have a long way to go, Marcus explained as they danced slowly. I'll need more therapy, and there will be good days and bad days. Some days I'll still need the wheelchair or the braces. But Lisa, I promise you, I will never stop trying to get better. Lisa shook her head, her hand resting on his chest. Marcus Carter, I married you for who you are, not whether you could walk or not. This is amazing, but you didn't need to do this for me. I know, he smiled. I did it for us. For our future. For all the dreams we can now share together. They danced slowly for a few more minutes until Marcus needed to rest. As he sat back in his wheelchair, Lisa knelt beside him, still in her wedding dress. You've given me so many surprises today, she said, taking his hands in hers. First standing through the ceremony, then our dance at the reception, and now this. How did I get so lucky? Marcus lifted her hands to his lips and kissed them softly. I'm the lucky one. You loved me when I thought nobody could. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Everything I've accomplished, every step I've taken, it's all because of you, Lisa Carter. As the Atlanta city lights twinkled behind them, the newlyweds shared a deep, passionate kiss. Their love story had already broken barriers and defied expectations. Now, with this miraculous new chapter beginning, they knew that nothing was impossible as long as they faced it together. 1 year had passed since that magical night at the Ritz-Carlton. Lisa and Marcus sat on the porch of their new home in the suburbs of Atlanta, watching the sunset. So much had changed in just 12 months. Marcus's recovery had become an inspiring story that spread far beyond Atlanta. The experimental treatment that helped him walk again had gained nationwide attention. Medical journals wrote about his case, and disability rights organizations invited him to speak at their events. Can you believe it's been a year already? Lisa asked, resting her head on her husband's shoulder. Her hand gently rested on her growing baby bump, their miracle surprise from 6 months ago. Marcus smiled, standing up from his chair without any help. His walking had improved dramatically, though he still kept his wheelchair for days when his legs felt tired. Best year of my life, he said, pulling Lisa up to stand with him. Their house was a beautiful testament to their journey. One room was dedicated to Marcus's therapy equipment, but it wasn't just for him anymore. 3 times a week, they opened their home to other people with spinal cord injuries, offering free physical therapy sessions and hope. Remember what you told me in the hospital? Lisa asked, watching as a young man in a wheelchair worked with their physical therapist in the therapy room. You said you were stuck in that chair forever. Now look at you, helping others get out of theirs. Marcus had used his software skills to create an app that connected disabled people with resources and support groups. It had become so successful that his company had made it their main project, with Marcus leading the team. Speaking of helping others, Marcus said, the foundation called today. They want us to be the keynote speakers at next month's gala. The Carter Foundation for Disability Support was their proudest achievement. Using the money from Marcus's app and donations from supporters, they helped fund experimental treatments for people who couldn't afford them. They'd also provided scholarships for nursing students who wanted to specialize in rehabilitation care. Lisa's career had flourished too. The hospital had promoted her to head of rehabilitation nursing, where she used her experience to train other nurses in compassionate care. Her story of falling in love with her patient had become a symbol of hope at the hospital. Oh, Lisa suddenly exclaimed, placing Marcus's hand on her belly. Feel that? Your daughter's doing somersaults again. They had learned last month they were having a girl. They'd already decided to name her Hope, because that's what their love story was all about. Their families had grown even closer over the past year. Every Sunday, both sets of parents came for dinner, and the house filled with laughter and love. Eleanor and Patricia had become best friends, often spending days together planning for their granddaughter's arrival. You know what the best part of walking again is? Marcus asked, pulling Lisa into a gentle dance on their porch. No music played, but they didn't need any. What's that? Being able to do this whenever I want, he said, twirling her carefully. Though I have to admit, I kind of miss you sitting in my lap while I wheeled us around. Lisa laughed. Well, the wheelchair's still in the garage. We can always take it for a spin, for old time's sake. Later that evening, as they sat in their cozy living room, Marcus showed Lisa the latest feature of his app, a dating section specifically for people with disabilities. Because everyone deserves to find what we found, he explained, showing her how it worked. Love that sees no barriers. The wall behind them was covered with photos of their journey. Marcus in his hospital bed, their first date, the proposal at Atlantic Station, their wedding day, and the moment he first walked without support. Each picture told a story of triumph over adversity. We should write a book, Lisa suggested, looking at the photos. Share our story with the world. Marcus kissed her forehead. Already started. I've been keeping notes since the day you walked into room 405. As night fell over Atlanta, they sat together on their porch swing, planning their future. They talked about Hope's nursery, the Foundation's next project, and their dreams for the years ahead. You know what's funny? Lisa said, watching the stars appear in the sky. People used to say I was crazy for falling in love with a disabled man. They thought I was sacrificing my future. They never understood that I wasn't losing anything, I was gaining everything. Marcus pulled her closer. And I thought being in a wheelchair meant my life was over. Instead, it led me to you, and my life was just beginning. Their story had become more than just a tale of love between a nurse and her patient. It was a beacon of hope, showing the world that true love knows no boundaries, that disabilities don't define a person, and that with faith, determination, and love, anything is possible. As they sat there, holding each other under the Georgia stars, they knew their journey was far from over. With a baby on the way, a foundation to run, and countless lives to touch, Lisa and Marcus Carter were ready for whatever adventures lay ahead. Together, standing tall, their love stronger than ever.